Alrighty, hello and welcome to this presentation by ProTrade United on 5 steps to profitable margins in this experiencing rising market. Great to have you on board tonight for a fast-paced session. We're going to be going for about 45 or 50 minutes, depending on questions and what support you guys would like in the journey that you're on right now. So, if this is your first time on a session with ProTrade United, welcome along. They're usually fast-paced, energetic, lots of content. So my name's John Mailer. It's great to be with you tonight. I know some of you who I've seen on the list so far have been on an online training session with us before. For those of you here for the very first time, welcome. Congratulations on taking the step to embrace the digital learning world. And the key thing here is just in this session, relax, kick back, take it easy. If you've got a pen and paper or a tablet, take truckloads of notes, most importantly for the things that resonate with you. And my goal tonight is not to tell you the things that you already know, but my goal is to tell you or share with you the things that may challenge the way that you're currently operating in your business. So if I do, ask the question, that's interesting, how could I apply that to my business? Be present, turn off the tech for an hour, give yourself the gift to be detached from the outside world and focus on what you can do to improve this business that you've got working for you as well. Participate when you get the opportunity, because I'm going to give you plenty of options to do that through the session. And if you'd love to replay what I'm going to chat to you about tonight with your team or some other people in your business, or even for yourself, you're going to get a recording as well. So I trust that all makes sense. So how are we going to connect and collaborate tonight? So you should have a little control panel, usually pops up on the right-hand side of your screen. Right now is the opportunity for you to engage with me. I'd love you to raise your hands or click the raise your hands button if you can see and you can hear the screen. There's two most important things. Can you see the slides? And can you hear me talking clearly? And your opportunity to get those fingers tapping. What sort of business are you in and where are you located? We've got this session tonight around Australia and New Zealand, so across the Pacific. I'd love to hear where you're from. For those people in New Zealand, no mentioning the rugby, although I just have to just remind us of how we haven't been able to get that hoodoo off our back. So love to sort of see and hear where you guys are from. Beautiful, thanks Bart. Bart says all clear from Sydney. Rogers in Brizzy, residential home building. Matty McDonald, good to have you on the session, mate. From ProWire Electrical in Queensland. Hayden, Gold Coast Plumber. David's from Adelaide, not quite sure what sort of business. Michelle's got a smile and laughing. So you must be from New Zealand, I'm thinking, Michelle. Luke from Masterton in NZ. Joanna from Adelaide. Ash from Perth. Roger from Envision Homes in, not quite sure, but we've got Victoria there. Keegan from way down south in Dunedin in New Zealand, lovely in the construction industry there. Stuart from Melbourne there, Rob from Sydney. Kane says, I'm from Victoria, what's rugby? Yeah, listen, I'm an AFL man, so I'm with you as well. I've had to adapt if I've progressively got further north in the country here. Dale from Cairns, Ryan from Sydney, Michael from Melbourne, Kieran, who's a painter from Brisbane, and Go the Warriors, says Brendan from Northland in New Zealand as well. Good on you, mate. Martin, Gold Coast renovator, and Michelle says, yep, I must be from New Zealand there. Josh, a chippy from Auckland, and Matthew, another shuttle electrics from Melbourne in the eastern suburbs. So listen, keep tapping away as we chat tonight. I love your interaction already. I can tell there's a bit of banter going on from wherever you are. So the game tonight, all right, so a snapshot. I know some of you are totally familiar with who we are. And for those of you who aren't, listen, we slot into the trading construction space as advisors to businesses across Australia and New Zealand to help them really get a snapshot of how to do one of three things. One is to stabilize and streamline, which helps them create consistency of income, profit, and cash. And once you've got that, you've got choices. how to scale, how to grow the number of projects or vans that you on the team with profit, because growth does not always equal profitability. And if you want to step out, maybe back off the tools a little bit. Maybe you've got the stage where you want to just choose a role. Maybe engage the younger generation to be part of the business on a greater level, or maybe sell as well. That's where we sort of play the game. Some of our beautiful clients that we play with on a regular basis, and the majority of our clients, I shouldn't say the majority, all of our clients are great people. A lot of husband and wife teams, about 40% of our clients are husband and wife teams, and so you can totally relate to the journey that you guys are on if you're joining us tonight. So this session, who's it for? Like, just to check that you're in the right place. The session today is aimed at helping you think differently about profitability in your business. Many of you are in business for profit. Now, what is profit? Okay, what is profit to you? Is it financial profit? Is it more time with your family? Is it, less time on the tool so you've got better health? That's something to consider. There's lots of silly mistakes going on right now in the industry that'll cost you money, and let you know what they are. How to create a solid game plan for educating and communicating with your clients. How to build a resilient business to the external experiences that we've got going on, and how to commit to becoming an employer of choice. How do you have people lining up to want to work for you, even when there's a shortage of skilled trades out there at the moment? So, by the way, if you're up for a bit of that, or a lot of that, click hands up, or if there's one thing in there you'd love to know more about, let me know. I'm going to drill down as much as I can as well. So any questions that pop up tonight, type them into the box, please, 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 because I may not get to them at the time that you actually ask the question, but I will endeavor, particularly if it's a general question. If it's more specific, let's connect one-on-one and see if we can support you on that as well. So, hey, Tim, good to see you, mate. Painter from Wagga, my country, Victoria. My brother's in Benalla, just down the road. So, love to. I think I swore there, Wagga. It's not Victoria, it's New South Wales. So good on you, mate, for dealing with what you're dealing with right now. All right, so we know that the world is changing. Now, I've had this slide up for almost 12 months, and I keep thinking, do I need to change this? But you know what? We are doing a dance quicker and faster than ever before. The landscape with not only just COVID at the moment, but how that impacts your industry and your business is not just changing on a monthly basis or a weekly basis, it's daily and sometimes hourly basis as well. So there's only one thing that I see that you can do if you want to survive, and that's to adapt. Are you continuing to evolve and grow and develop as a business owner? Because let's face it, if you go back 18 months ago, the skills that you are required to run your business successfully are completely different to today. And if you haven't changed, and hopefully you got hopeful thinking that the world will go back to the way that it was, well, guess what? I guarantee you're going to be extinct. So embrace the change. You can't control it. We're sitting on a planet right now, team, going at 1,000 miles an hour. You think you've got anything under control externally? Now, you can control things internally, and you can influence things within a circle around you. Yeah. So I'm going to ask you to embrace the change, embrace the dance, embrace the way the world is evolving and changing now, and be one of the business owners that leads, the adaptation to that. So tonight, I know we've got, as I said, we've got plumbers, electricians, painters, landscape gardeners, builders, we've got plasterers, we've got, bricklayers, we've got oodles of different trades. So adapt the ideas today. I'm going to run through, probably about 40 slides, but for you, all I want you to do is pick one, not just one slide, but one idea. Okay, can I ask you to do that? Just one idea that you can take away and implement into your business. That's it. You got the recording, you can watch this over and over again, but tonight, just one idea. So if that sounds like you, that would be terrific. So the question I have is, right now, what is your biggest challenge with profitability? I'm going to share with you in a minute, because I have seen businesses now busier than they've ever been before. But I'll tell you what, they're not making any more profit. So let me ask you, what is the biggest challenge right now with your profitability? Yeah, I'd like you to type that into the box. And it could be that, for example, you've got plenty of work lined up, but because of delays of materials getting to site and challenges in projects commencing, you've got delays in income and profit from there. Maybe that you have too many team plans, but you're not able to get efficiencies happening on site. Maybe you're just doing work to break even and not to make any money. Maybe you haven't put your prices up for some period of time. Type it into the box. I'd love to be able to address and support you with any of the things that you've got going on there. I'll give you 30 seconds. Type away. We'll come back and see what shows up for everyone. All right, so what have we got here? So Ryan's got a question here. Kieran's asked, is there any sound? And listen, I think there is sound. Maybe you see what's happening with some tech on your end there. Want to know how to better communicate with customers. Ryan's got, I get the feeling most customers are, expect my service free. No, you don't ever offer your service for free. You don't go to a specialist and expect them to give you advice for free. You guys are specialists. Matthew's got scheduling. Luke's got price increases in materials. Project commencement issues, says Bart. Low margin. Thanks, Roger. Getting the price right, says Brendan. Timber delays, Josh. Ditto for all the residential construction builders there. Quoting, says Hayden. Listen, I'm not going to mention everyone's name here, but we've got owner limitations, plenty of work, just can't start it. But plenty of our clients are working with that, and we're supporting them through that process now. Making the shift from being a sole trader to a business manager. Beautiful, Stuart. I love that you've recognized that as well. Market margins dictate win or lose. I'll debate that, Michael. There are opportunities too. Yes, you need to have a market, a margin, but there are other aspects as well to support you with that. Price surges in materials. Dale, listen, we're not just talking about 10, 15% here, we're talking about hundreds of percent there, so I know where you're coming from. Weather holdups, not enough staff, having to reprice jobs, particularly that we quoted on last year, says Keegan. Love you, mate. Paul says raising our prices. Alicia says, haven't had a price increase to pass on material prices yet. I'm going to put there, Alicia, yet. All right, hey, thanks for sharing. And you know what I get from that? We're all dealing with a truckload of stuff. You guys are all dealing with lots going on in this world. As I said, it's changing quicker and faster than ever before. So what we want to have a look at, and thank you for sharing that. Keep typing away in the box if anything else comes up. Your ability to navigate what's happening right now, okay, is a combination of your psychology or the way that you approach it. We talk about the context and your skills and ability. Now, the majority is going to lie in the way you approach it from your psychology versus skills and ability. And let me show you. So from a skills perspective, you've got to be able to master your numbers. If you don't know the numbers in your business, you don't know the numbers, you don't know your business. I'll say that again. If you don't know your numbers, you don't know your business. The number of business owners that have been around and have come to today's stage in business who don't have things like cash flow forecasts, don't know their break even, don't know the number of jobs that they require to, get through the year, is quite alarming. Now is the time to drill down and become a master of your numbers. What's your profit goal? Not what's your revenue goal, but what do you want to keep after you've paid yourself a salary? So let's take it. You might be a supervisor. You might be an estimator in your business. You want to give yourself a market salary of $90,000 to $100,000 a year for being a master of your craft. What do you want to keep after that in your business? Okay, do you have a profit goal and work backwards from that? Do you know the true cost to employ your team? And it's not just 30 or 36 or 37 or $40 an hour, whatever it is that the guys are getting as a salary. What is it costing them to put them in a van or on site each and every day? Your communication early and often, and your leadership. You know, what we're requiring now and really asking of our clients that we're working with is your leadership needs to transition and adapt and evolve on a daily basis, because what happens internally for you will be reflected externally as well, and that never stops. So they're the skills. Now you might think that was a lot to take in, but here's the thing. That's only 20%. 80% is you have to look at a way, can I shift from being the person doing the work and winning, doing the work and generating the income, to leading a business that generates the income. And that's what we talk about at ProTrade, from being a tradie to being a professional of your trade. You've got to break the mold from being the person who goes out every single day and does your 10 hours on the tools, charges the customer whatever you charge, then come back and try and run the business after hours. To gradually, it doesn't happen overnight. In some cases, it can take 6 to 12, 18 months, 2 years. But can you build a business that generates the income and you be the leader of it? Secondly, it's about, are you able to speak your truth? Now, for those clients that are on the session tonight, you will know what I'm talking about. But your ability not just to talk about the facts, but to talk about how you're experiencing what's going on. And last but not least, are you committed to raising your standards? You know, the standards to succeed as a professional in the trade industry today are so much higher than they were 5 years ago, and will be so much higher in 5 years down the track. And I'll talk about some examples down the line with our session here tonight. But right now for you, here's what we're seeing, and you may be experiencing this. Most trades are at or over capacity. And this is by default, not by design. And I'll say that again, by default, not by design. I'm going to give you, here's the example. So we had a tree fall down in our backyard. We back onto a national park, and we had a 50-foot tree fall down through our back fence and just brushed our guttering and our roofing, not to the point where it needed immediate attention. Now, myself and my wife have called 5 roofers and 5 fencers to get an indication so we can pass on to the insurance company to take care of. Now, I get people, we work in the industry. I know you guys have got a lot of work on, but how many responses did we get to a request, even a call back to say, hey, thanks for your call. Unfortunately, we are at capacity at the moment. We can do the job in 3 months' time. Could you talk us through it? Even the professionalism there. So what I know is those businesses right now that did not return our call have got work by default. And it's usually because the 20% who are at the top of the industry, who have created the work and the quality professional work that's profitable, do not have capacity for any other work. So guess what? Everybody else benefits. It's almost like the crumbs that are just being scattered around. And if you think that you've won the work more by design, just check. Is it because there's an overflow and you're just picking up the crumbs? Or have you consciously gone out and created and won the work that you've got? So therefore, you may be busy and not profitable. What we're finding is material delays and pricing is dynamic almost on a daily basis. And if you're not keeping up to date with that, then you could be missing out, or it could be costing you down the track. And those underprepared and complacent will be disadvantaged the most. So listen, if you can relate to any of those, just type into the box, say, I got it, I understand, this is what I'm experiencing. Maybe even just raise your hand. So what that leads to is when people are busy and not profitable, they're just trying to keep up with what's going on, they make mistakes. Number one, they think more work equals more profit. We have lost count of the number of clients we started working with who have doubled their workload. They're making half the profit. And when we identify the challenges, they go, you know what? I'd much rather have my business half the size because I was making way more profit there. And growth does not equal profit. They're undercharging. And there's a number of reasons for that. They're not measuring what they wanted from a job versus what they actually got from a job. So if you've priced a job, how often do you stop and reflect back to say, I estimated to make X percentage gross profit, and this is what I actually got? Or are you just too busy and you just go on to the next one? You don't know the real cost to employ right now to the team, and there's no cash flow in place, which means you don't know necessarily what's in your bank account at the end of this week, next week, the end of the month, end of September. Maybe you think because you got money in the bank today and the bills are paid, you're on track. Gaps everywhere in that little recipe there. So before we get into the work that we're going to do in this session, okay, before we've got it, just type into the box, what has been valuable for you? What is something that's come up for you that you see is going to be beneficial for you to work on? What is an aha moment? Yeah, what are you experiencing in the industry? Keep conversing with me because I'll pass it out to everybody else and then we'll converse with the group. Away you go. Give you 30 seconds typing away. I'll just grab a drink and I will be back. Alrighty, so Jason, good to have you on the call, mate. You agree? Thank you, Jace from Dulux. Paul's got our customers love us for our service. Default, not by design. Yeah, be a designer, not someone who just reacts to what's going on. Increased transactional business versus relationship business, says Michael. Beautiful. Jason's got, again, moving carefully with the global raw materials increases around the world. With freight and consistencies laid onto customers there as well. Hey, Matthew's got a really important point. He says, not letting customers know I am at capacity. If you could put one word into your vocabulary from tomorrow when a new customer calls and say, thank you so much for calling. Let me hear about what your situation is. I am currently at capacity. However, love to support you where I can. So capacity gives a context around maybe you're at capacity because you're good at what you do and you're full. And therefore, I am prepared to wait and particularly pay more for that as well. You know, Jason says, don't like, you know, being taken for granted, could be crumbs. Josh, taking a little extra, trying to deliver quality has given you repeat work. Lovely. Stewie's got forecasting cash flow and profits. Trying to find out how's in the day to complete forecasting. Thank you, Ashley. Michael's got evening. Sorry to get back late from work. Just jumped in. Good on you, mate. At least you're here. 20 minutes past the hour and you're in for the ride. I stopped thinking on to reflect on price versus actual is important. Lovely there. Risk shifting, says Michael. And Michael says, what do you work on? What's fair and reasonable? And make a wage and also continue to win jobs. So making a wage is one thing. Making a wage plus profit is another. So just let me share with you something there, guys. I think you definitely need to be making a wage for the role that you're providing in the business and for being a business owner and taking on all the risks associated with that as a director, employing people, all the challenges that go with that, all the insurances that you're liable for. It's about making a profit to give you that return as well. If you're just making a salary, you know, you have to be okay with that. Or you might say, you know what, maybe I'd be better off earning the same salary, contracting to someone else, going home at night, sleeping well without the risk. That's a choice. I'm not saying there's a right or wrong, and here's what I want to share with you is there's no right or wrong, good or bad. You get to choose the business that you want to create. I'm not here to tell you what you need to have. It's completely up to you. And Corey's got here, hard to get customers to pay for the quality we deliver. And it's not easy, Corey. It's not easy, but it can be simple. And maybe that's a conversation for another time, but it's about educating, communicating the value that you offer as well. Thank you for sharing. All right, let's go to work. Number one, not number one, this is the overarching context of where you're at right now. If you're not prepared to own the good, the bad, the messy, and the ugly, then you'll never move forward. Unless you take responsibility for everything that shows up in your life, you can never change anything in your life. Yeah. So you get to own the situation. If you've got great stuff going on, own it. If you've got messy stuff going on, own it. And then go to work on shifting and changing it as well. So that's the overarching context of what we're going to talk about. Point number one, we want to set some profit targets, not just salary targets, not just revenue targets, but we want to work backwards from your profit goal. We want to look at your overheads and costs associated with delivering your work, and then required income and job numbers. So, as I said, adapt and improvise what I'm going to talk about. Oops. So here we go. Here's an example. This business owner, when we sat down, said, I'd like to generate $150,000 pre-tax profit after paying myself a salary. And I do a bit of work on the tools and I do a bit of work in the office. And for most business owners, if I asked you out there, would you be happy with 150,000? Most people go, happy days every day, let's go for that. Some of you have experienced it. It could be double, it might be more, but let's start with that. Now, what we did was then we plugged in what are the overheads that are hanging over their head every single day to run the business. And so $300,000, which is around about $25,000 a month. So overheads includes your insurances, your vehicles, your utilities, maybe your rent or your leases you've got going on, any office or admin salaries. This isn't the salaries of the people on the job and earning the work. It's the people supporting all of that. So therefore, we need a gross profit, which is what's left after the job of $450,000. Now, in this business, we're going to keep it pretty simple. Their gross profit percentage is 45%. Therefore, they need to generate $1 million in sales income, because what's left after every dollar of earned income is 45 cents. That's their target. Now, their average job value, now you can change the zeros on this from $1,000 to $10,000 or $100,000, or maybe even $100 or $500. But in this example, I'm just doing it. I've kept the numbers pretty simple. They need to not only win 1,000 jobs, they need to win, schedule, start, commence, invoice, and get paid for 1,000 jobs on an average job value of 1,000. You work out what's that to you. You plug in those numbers, but work backwards from the profit versus going, how much do I want to earn next year? Secondly, know the true cost to employ. Now, this is a major gap, and this can also be very dynamic as your business changes and evolves. So there's perceived cost versus actual costs. There's an overhead component which you need to recover through every hour that your team are on site, and you've got to allow for inefficiencies. I've never seen a business that is 100% efficient every hour of every day of every week. So here's the example I'm going to use. Okay, this is a little tool that we've got for our clients at ProTrade. Have a look at the blue boxes. So I want to walk you through this really quickly. This employee gets paid $30 an hour. They get paid for 38 hours a week, and it's no overtime in that, for 52 weeks a year. Add the superannuation, old slide, turn 9.5%, this year 10%. Okay, you've got to adapt and change that. Public annual leave, 20 days. Public holidays, 11. I know you guys in New Zealand have 13, so you adapt it to whichever region that you're in. Sick leave, 10 days. All right. So then we've got admin and non-billable travel. I've got about half an hour a day. Plus there's some training every week done, toolbox meetings that isn't really chargeable to a job. So what we're experiencing in this very simple example, that this employee can only be charged out at 75% of the time. So 25% of their time, if they take their entitlements, they can't be charged out of, which if we equate this to a true hard cost, is about $45, maybe $46 an hour, every single hour. Now, let's go to the next level. This business also has about $25,000 worth of overheads a year, same example I used before. The number of employees they have on the tools, they have 4.5. So what I mean by half is the owner is half of the time on the tools, half of the time in the office, winning the work, going out, building relationships. Therefore, what we find is there's an overhead cost, or some people call it an overhead recovery cost, of around $33, nearly $34 an hour. So the net charge out rate, net, no profit, when you allocate labor, is close to $80 an hour, $79.68. And remember that if you're not being super efficient, this is also costing you that per hour. Now let's put a reasonable profit margin of 15%, and therefore a labor component in this business. Remember, this is just an example. Some could be lower, some could be higher. I'd suggest the majority are higher and over the $100. Therefore, the net charge out, the profitable charge out rate needs to be $93 plus GST. So remember, labor efficiency. Let's have a look at this, particularly in the service and maintenance business. If you're only being able to bill out at $27, 27 hours of the 38 hours, you're only at 71% efficiency. If you're 33 of the 38 hours, you're 86. The best that we've seen and the benchmark we encourage you to look at and measure is at least 93%. Now, poor efficiency, 6 hours a week, could be costing you not just thousands, but tens of thousands of dollars a year. Have a look at what's happening in your business. Now, Shane's one of our clients in Brisbane. When he started with this, look, he's got a good business. You know, he had about 8 or 9 on the team. So when we had a look at what was happening with him, he was busy, not profitable. He's got a young family and he was working long hours, not getting the time with them or to do the things that mattered most in his business. So we just tweaked a few things. We had a look at his charge out rate. We had a look at ways to improve his efficiency on site. And we had a look at ways to reduce his overheads. And over time, what that allowed us to do was to give him between $90,000 and $100,000 extra per year in his pocket by just fine tuning a few dials in the business. If you're up for some of that, say hallelujah and put your hand up. And that's definitely some little things you can go to work on in your business. Number 3, we've got to identify the red flags right now. In your business, there is rising material prices, hundreds of %, not just on an annual basis, but we're seeing this on a monthly basis. Are you in tune with that? Timber prices, things that are being imported from overseas, because of the supply and demand, always determines price. When there's more demand than supply, prices go up. When there's less demand than supply, prices go down. That's the market. It always has been and always will be. But are you aware of what's happening? And particularly maybe for your suppliers, maybe you've got a local supplier, are you being aware of how those prices are changing? Terms and conditions. Okay, here's the key. What we did a seminar 2 weeks ago with RCR lawyers, who are our partners in Brisbane. And what we've identified, and they've identified, is that a lot of contracts that came into place pre-2021 or even early 2021 don't have clauses around extension of time and what happens if materials increase in price. It's really important right now that if you have larger contracts in place, that you've got clauses that make it an adaptable arrangement, that if there needs to be an extension of time due to delays in getting materials on site or hold-ups from other trades, or materials continue to increase in price, that you can readdress the price of the contract and be in communication around that. If you've got clients who don't want to pay deposits, what I find is, oh, listen, I've gone out, I've started the job. Hang on a sec, and did you get a deposit? Oh no, they'll be good for it. What you are clearly not is a bank. Anybody sort of feel like they've been a bank or they are a bank right now? What I mean by that is you are buying the materials on your account, supplying them, delivering the labor, supplying the labor, paying for the labor, and not getting paid for it. Maybe not for 7, 14, 30, 60, maybe 90 days. I don't think any of you set up your business to be a bank and to be sort of in that scenario situation. So if you've got clients who don't want to pay your deposit to get things started, that's a red flag. Not willing to follow or adapt to your process. And one of the things that we work with clients on is, hey, let's create a process where you can talk to potential clients and say, if you'd like to work with us, this is the steps that we take. Step 1 is this, step 2 is this, step 3 is this. And ultimately, trust your knowing. If you've got an intuition, if you've got a knowing about a particular situation or a client, listen to that. You've probably made decisions before which have gone against your intuition and you've regretted it. More than now is the time to pay attention to your knowing. All right, team, I've had a chat. Time for you to give me back some value that you've received. What's one thing that you found beneficial from what I've had a chat about? One thing that you are inspired to go and take action on? One thing you'd like to share that has come up for you, or maybe that you've been challenged by as well? Going to give you 20 seconds. Type it into the box and love to see what you guys are coming up with. All right, Ashley's got, I always get a deposit. He's got capitals with 2 exclamation marks. Thanks, Ashley. No deposit, no work, says Stuart. Lovely. Ryan says, I would never start a job without a deposit. Great to hear that, because there are people out there who are doing that as well. It lowers your risk. Know your numbers. Raise my hourly rate. I'm only charging 80. Thanks, Kieran, for sharing that as well. Customers who don't want to pay a deposit, red flags. Actual hourly rate is a real surprise. Thanks, Corey. T's and C's reviewed. Here's the thing about T's and C's or contracts, they're a bit like insurance. If you've still got the same insurance policy for your business, or maybe for your home and contents, or for your vehicle that you had 5 years ago, things have changed. That's what you've got to pay attention to. Get a deposit, says Hayden. Thank you, mate. It's reassurance that we are valuable and need to know our worth. Listen, one of the things on that, Brendan, if I can just address it, is that you get to choose now between being a generalist or a specialist. Now, when you go to a general practitioner from a medical perspective, okay, you pay a GP rate. Now, if I go to my local GP, it's usually $80. I may or may not get a rebate based on whether they're bulk billed or Medicare covered. But if they say, listen, what I want you to do is go and see a specialist, I know that I'm up for a few $100 just for an initial consultation, not even for the work. So what I'm going to encourage you to do is start positioning yourself as a specialist. And that can be a perception that you create for your target audience. Avoid being a generalist. Don't be the person who does what everybody else does. Start asking yourself in the next 1, 2, 3, or 4 years, how can I be a specialist in one particular aspect of my field or my trade? That way you charge a premium. The other thing around all of that is I often see the GP or the general practitioner seeing 20, 30 patients a day, burnt out. But the specialist is the one who sees maybe 10 clients a day. They're the ones who charge the premium, get the profit margin, and are often on the skiing trip overseas or the trip to the Whitsundays, or they're the ones spending time with their family and enjoying the benefits. Yes, they put time and energy in becoming a specialist, but they're reaping the benefits. That's something for you there as well. So thanks for mentioning that, as well. A few others here. Good to know the cost to employ. Thanks, Josh. For me personally, better at identifying red flags. Thanks, Dale. Being consistently used as a bank. Chris, we get it, mate. So time to stop that. Good on you, Keegan. Starting to charge for quotes weeds people out. And one of the things that we work with all of our clients on is how to start charging for quotes, regardless of whether you're doing a roof inspection, looking at a hot water system, right up to putting together a brand new build. There's ways to value yourself as well. Hey, listen, thanks for your comments. Hey, I see that there's a lot of relatability for where you guys are at right now. So let's keep moving. Home straight. Number 4, educate and communicate. One of the things that I really is important, and one of the businesses we started, we're working with well and truly 20 years ago, was an organization to help us with training. One of the questions they said was, I just want to check out what's the best way that you'd like us to communicate with you. There's email, there's SMS, there's phone, there's back then snail mail, there was fax or a facsimile machine, if some of you could remember that as well. I'm showing my vintage now. But if you don't know what and how your customer likes to be communicated with, you're going to assume that it's the same way as you. Now, some of you, and I'm going to call the millennials who are sort of born with technology in their hands, may get your WhatsApp up, you might get your Messenger up, you might get your SMS up, and all of the other platforms that you got, and assume that that's how an older client may want to communicate. Or if you're an older communicator, you may think that people just want to speak on the phone. Like, I'm a phone person. And your younger customer is going, what's this guy keep ringing me for? Can't he just shoot me a text? So here's the key. Understand your target audience or the customer you're working with, and be aligned on the best way to connect and communicate. Once you've got that, then you can be early and you can be often, and no BS. The time right now is to be totally transparent with everything and anything that is going on. This will cost you money, cost you customers, and do your head in stress-wise, anxiety-wise if you don't get this mastered, yeah? So always ask, what's the best way you'd like us to communicate with you? The bigger the project, okay, the more important this is. If it's a small project, you know, it may be less important, but still, if you're thinking about repeat business and referrals, make sure you've got this on point. Ask better questions and also ask for questions as well. So maybe if you're in the construction game, you might want to say, hey, listen, there's no silly questions in this situation. We've got lots of things going on externally and internally at the moment. All right, we've obviously got the COVID challenges, a way we can be on site, we can deliver what we said we were going to deliver. We've got challenges with delivery of materials. We've got price rises going on. We're working with other types of trades who are also being delayed as well. I just want to make sure that you are not left in the lurch or guessing around what's going on. So I'm going to invite you to ask me as many questions as you feel comfortable to do. And the last part here is speak your truth and the truth. The truth is the facts. All right. So for our clients who are on the call, you'll know exactly what I mean by this. The truth is the facts. The truth is we're expecting a delivery of materials on Monday. The facts are I've got a call today to say it's been held up for another 7 days. Your truth is I'm feeling really uncomfortable about having to have this conversation with you again. It's out of my control. My intention is to deliver for you on what we agreed initially. And I'm doing my very best to be on top of everything so I can pass on that information to you so you're totally clear on where we're at with the project. Okay, you see the difference? The truth is the fact, and how you're experiencing it is the same situation. It is your truth, or your emotions and energy around it. And when you speak your truth, you know what that does? It gives other people the permission to speak theirs. So Andrew is one of our clients in Melbourne. Amazing guy. He's one of our mentor circle clients in our masters group in Melbourne. We had a conversation earlier in the year where he's got a response maintenance business. He said, John, I don't know what's happened. All of a sudden the phone stopped ringing. I'm starting to panic a little bit. Now, when, he's got a significant team, twice the size of what you see in the slide there, he was a little bit concerned. I said, okay, well, listen, he deals with real estate agents, property managers. That's his sweet spot. I said, well, rather than assuming, he says, it feels like I'm losing work because I'm charging too much. I said, Andrew, that's not the situation. I don't know what that is, the situation, but I know that it's not the price. I said, how about you ring 3 or 4 of your customers, get the facts, get the truth, and then speak your truth. And the reality is, in Melbourne earlier this year, with all the lockdowns that were going in, a lot of the properties and the universities and the student accommodation was empty. But he was assuming it was about the price, not about there was just a lack of the work. So he said, you know what I can do? I'd love to support you around this. Is there a way that I can meet up with some of your team and maybe start to educate them around what we do, how we do it, the benefits of what we've put in place, the steps that we've created to ensure that the customers get an amazing experience each and every time. 3 weeks later, he rang back and said, John, I got the facts. This is what they are, and we're back and we are over capacity. Okay? Never assume, always be on the front foot, over communicate, be early, and just be authentic. All right, number 5, attract and keep the best. So something to think about right now is that for majority of people, finding great quality people is challenging. So what I want you to consider, just 4 key points here. It's not always about the salary, it's about the environment and the salary. A lot of business owners think, oh, I've just got to pay them more to get the best. Yes, salary is important, but a lot of people will leave a high paying salary because the environment was toxic. So how do you have both? How do you pay people well and create an environment that keeps the best? Part of this has been you, a great leader. How do you be a leader that inspires people to want to show up and be engaged each and every day? Part of that is sharing the vision about where you're going. I'll talk about something in the moment about being a resilience champion, but your vision is so important. Provide training and progression for each and every person. The number one aligned value for every human being is they love to progress. They love to progress. What are you doing to ensure your team are progressing? And cut no corners when hiring, okay? If in doubt, keep looking. Do not hire a dud. Do not hire out of desperation. Hire out of inspiration. Dylan and Christine. Christine is part of our master's program. She's also just come on board recently as a coach with us, and obviously working with her husband. She's got so much experience to be able to share in that space. And one of the things that Christine and I have been working through recently, particularly this last point here, is we really need someone, John. We have got so much work on. If we could just put that extra person on, it would make the difference to our profitability. And she knows her numbers. I said, what's you knowing about the situation? And she says, you know what, he's not right. I said, okay, every time you hire someone who is not right for the business, you are blocking an opportunity for an even better person to come on board. You've just got to trust that they are there. All right. So with Dylan and Christine, we've been working with them now for over 5 years, and those little nuances about their team have enabled them to be able to step back from being 150% on the tools and running the business all hours of the day to really enjoying some quality time. And Christine and Dylan have got 4 kids. So, that's really important to them. All right. So last little bit, what's been valuable? I've got one thing to share before we finish up around resilience, and before we look at a way to give you an opportunity to be part of what we're doing at ProTrade and get some support that you may need. So please check in. What's come up for you? What are you going to take action on? What have you been challenged with? What are you nervous about? What would you love to do that maybe you're not doing right now in your business? I want to give you 20 seconds to tap something into the box. Love to come back. I'll share it with everybody, and then we'll be in the home straight for the last 5 minutes. Okay, so let's have a look. Scotty, thank you for sharing. Communication is the key, definitely. Make a wage plus profit, says Hayden. You're on point there. Inefficiencies as valuable advice, factoring that into your pricing. Stabilizing long-term workflow, says Ashley, is important with clients. Salary can help you hire, but environment, leadership, opportunities will determine whether you retain good people. Thank you for sharing that, Stu. Joe's got, I liked asking better questions, robust discussions, and challenging the status quo, says Michael. Team culture as well as salary. Good on you, Robert. Andrew's got, you can't teach respect when it comes to hiring. 100%. You can pick that up, can't you, in the hiring decisions? You can feel that. Here's the thing, respect comes from just knowing. You know, it's just not something that people can write in a resume. That's one of the things we talk about in our hiring processes is let's get rid of the resume. Let's ask better questions. Dale's got, thank you into my I need to work thank you into my vocabulary and stop saying sorry when people ask if we're at capacity. Never apologize for being great at what you do. And inefficiency and profitability needs to be increased, or efficiencies without the financial word. Thanks, Chris, for sharing all of that. So, keep tapping away because, we're all aligned in this. And the last little piece here tonight, continually be profitable, is that, business is an inside-out game. Don't expect the external to change without the internal moving first. So if you want to build a resilient business, and a resilient business comes from building a resilient team, okay? The key things that I've observed is a rhythm of communication is crucial. Now that could be with your senior team monthly, everyone weekly, site and individual teams daily, okay? Give people the opportunity to show up, share where the job's at, share what's on the schedule, share how they're feeling and experiencing life at the moment, not as a whinge and a moan and complain session. It's really important that, I articulate that. It's not about people just whinging. Regardless of whether you're at, we've all experienced the COVID challenges, but share what's going on for them. They may have some personal challenges dealing with, getting from job site to job site. Allow people to share. It's not about whinging, it's about sharing. So you've got to manage that well. And this is where your leadership really comes into play. Encourage your team to share by you sharing first. Be authentic, be vulnerable, be open as a leader. Now, be prepared to say that, listen, I'm not dealing with this too well either, but I know together we can get through this. I remember very clearly a conversation I had with my managing director and my general manager. I'm going back to March last year when we had no idea what was going to happen. I sat down with them over a coffee and I said, you know what? I'm feeling really anxious at the moment. In fact, I'm scared because I don't know what is going on. I've spoken to a friend of mine in Melbourne and Sydney, and they are the same. But I know what we can do is get through this together. Okay? Let's deal with the facts on a day-to-day basis, and let's stay focused on where we're going. And that's that fourth point there is be optimistic while confronting the facts. Be brutal with dealing with the facts. This is the situation. Let's not put our heads in the sand, but let's stay focused on where we're going. And, offer external support. One of the partners that we work with is a organization called TIACS, or it's called This is a Conversation Starter. And this is a non-for-profit who put together the opportunity for anyone, either you as a business owner or you on people on your team, to call and speak to a psychologist around what they're dealing with. It's free of charge. It's a beautiful organisation based in Brisbane. We support them in everything that they do. And I recommend that if you like to provide your team a space to be able to call anyone or even yourself and just have a conversation, this is a great way to start. Yep, so provide that support because that will help build resilience. Time is gone. The time has passed, guys, where you say to people, suck it up, have a cup of concrete and get on with it. That does not suit the current situation. And if you want to become an employer of a choice, build a business that is resilient to everything that's going on, you've got to embrace how to support your people. And that starts with you. It starts with you supporting you and being the best owner that you can possibly be. So Ryan, who's one of our team, he's engaged this beautifully. He organises weekly chats with all of his team to check in how they're going, what are they up to, what are they experiencing, what support they would like as well. And he continues to build a really successful business amongst the whirlwind of what we're experiencing globally and locally as well. So we've chatted about a lot. I've given you the option now to build a business by default or by design. That's your choice. Do you react to what shows up every day, or do you consciously choose what it is that you're wanting to do next? So what that means is you can wake up tomorrow, walk out into the fog, hopefully that you're driving down the right road, or you can get some clarity. And part of what we're about is helping people get clarity about their life and their business and how they make them work together. So if you have found tonight valuable, and if you would like the opportunity to sit down with one of our team complimentary to review where you're at right now, how you'd like to create a business in 12 to 18 months time, and use a diagnostic tool that we have to identify some of the obstacles that you've got, plus your current reality, and then put some steps in place to help you get there. I'm going to launch a little poll right now. And if you're interested in that or just curious, then what I'd love you to do is just tick yes, or maybe, and this is going to pop up on your screen right now. So you'll see a poll there, which is like a personalized business performance session. If that's a yes, click yes. If it's a no, totally get it. You sound like you're pretty sorted. Unsure, just tick unsure, and then one of the team can be in touch with you just to give you a few more details as well. So I'll leave that up there just for a little longer. Be curious. Here's what I invite you to be, just curious about what's possible. Curious about what could be on the other side. And that may be challenging what you've got in place right now. Could be the best thing you've ever done. If we can't help you, we'll definitely let you know and point you in the right direction as well. We'll hold it up there just for another 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, and 1. All right, I'm going to close that now. Beautiful. All righty, so listen, just a couple of things to finalise there. Thanks, Kane, for the feedback there. Joshua, thanks for the feedback there as well. Just to wrap up as we go, you know, as I said earlier on, you get to own your show. You know, working with Pro Trade United is not about, you know, doing it for you. We're there to do it with you. We're there to support you along the way. And I would just want to thank you for saying yes to being here on the session. Hey, listen, I know you're on this session because you want to be better at who you are and what you create with your business. You're probably a real master of your craft. You want to be a professional at your trade. And I encourage you to go out and be that for you. Be a great leader for your business, a leader for your family, and most importantly, continue to challenge the status quo and be a leader of your field. Thanks so much for being part of the session. If you've got any passing comments or feedback, please type it into the chat box. Love to hear it. If there's anything else that you'd like support with or any other topics in the future, let us know. We run these sessions quite regularly, and I look forward to connecting with you soon if you've got the opportunity in the future.